For someone who's interested in fly fishing or fly tying, because it might be a little bit more accessible, it's something you can do at home. What do you need to get started? Because I know that I have spent far too much money and far too much time going to different fly shops and buying vices and all sorts of different materials and bobbins and scissors. What does someone need, and how much money do they need to spend to start enjoying this incredible arts and crafts activity, this meditative
Yeah.
arts and crafts activity that
Wow.
that we all appreciate so much?
Wow, that's a loaded question in a sense, and I appreciate
Yeah,
everything, every aspect that you brought up with it, because the short answer is, I mean, we have like I can give like a defined set of tools and
sure.
kind of the catch all, the starter, the beginner set to get started. I'll first preface to your audience, if you're getting into fly tying to save money, don't just get out of it right now.
No,
Go to your local fly
no.
shop, buy a few dozen flies,
Yeah,
contact me. I'll put you in contact with a great fly tire that can fill a box of flies for you, and you'll be set for 10 years. So let's get
right.
that out of the way. There's like 1% of 1% that probably saves money in fly tying. But
Sure.
I don't think that's what it's about. I mean, for me at least, and for so many anglers that I'm friends with, and so many anglers I've talked to over the years, fly tying is like, it's this incredible extension of fly fishing where you truly have this ability to be able to sit down at your vise, where I know you're sitting in front of your fly tying area right now. I have I have four vices around me right now. I have like all these fly tying stations around my house,
It's
and
like you
there's
got that many
constantly these,
hands.
yeah, there's constantly these creations just coming off of them. But it's just so incredible to be able to say, I'm going to tie this fly in this vise right here, head to the water tomorrow, and then in less than 24 hours, I'm going to catch a rainbow trout on this, and it's on a fly that I designed, I tied myself. There's just something that's, I don't know, it's just so amazing about that I think for those of us who've been tying for as many decades as me, which I've been tying for over 3 decades, it's easy to kind of lose that aspect of fly tying, that
Hmm.
we truly have this connection to nature based on something that we're doing, and it's built upon all of the observations and everything else. That's just incredible about it. Now
Yeah.
the meat and potatoes part. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're going to have a little bit of money at the beginning, and the short answer is, if you think it's going to be something you're going to stick with, meaning you have good dexterity, you're able to, do a lot of, fine motor skills with your hands and your fingers, and you enjoy a challenge, because that's what it is. Like, there's a steep learning curve to anything, but for those people who are like, I'm up for this, I have this growth mindset. I know there's going to be a couple road blocks or some speed bumps along the way, but I'm all in for that. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely, like buckle up, like set a budget and kind of go from there. And whenever I say set a budget, it's because you're going to need to have some tools. I mean, you're going to need to have a fly tying vise, and you can get vices that are in the $40-$50 range up to the multiple thousands of dollar range. And it's like,
Right.
where's the honey spot? Where's the sweet spot? And there's not an answer for that. It really just depends upon, how much money do you want to spend? Do you want to spend $100? Like, I have a vice that I can tell you I can recommend for 100. If you want one at 300, you want one at 500. Like, you basically, for everyone out there, it's almost like find your price point and then buy. Just research everything around that price point, and then just go with the one that has the best reviews, or based on some other fly tires that you've talked to. Because I mean, we're very lucky right now, Devin. There's so many great, just quality vices in that $100 to $150 range,
Yeah.
which, that's still a chunk of money. But at the end of the day, say you get into fly tying, you buy a $150 vice, you use it for a year, 2 years, and you decide it's not for you. You can sell it on eBay or Facebook Marketplace and get a pretty, significant, percentage of that vice back. So don't
For
look at
sure.
it as you're dropping 150 in a bucket and you're never going to see that again. Like, there will be a return on that money, either from that fly tying perspective or from the notion of reselling it.
And
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 then I think,
there's so much
yeah,
instruction that's readily available for free online, which is like, it's not, you're not going to get a vice and then sit there and not know what to do with it.
yeah. Oh,
Like,
without a doubt. I mean, because you need your basic tools. You're going to need vise. You're going to need thread. You're going to need some scissors. You're going to need to learn how to whip finish. I mean, there's going to be some basic tools, and I think anyone can do a quick Google search and just say, if you're thinking about, let's just say trout fly tying, you can do a search and say, what fly tying tools do I need to tie trout flies? And you're going to
Yeah.
see there's less than a dozen that you're going to need. I mean, I think back to whenever I first got into fly tying, my first like starter set was a set of tools from Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops.
Right.
It came in this little wooden box.
Yep.
I don't remember how much it was, maybe, $29.99
I was going to
years
say
ago.
30
It's
bucks at Orvis back in like 92 when my parents got
Yes,
me
and
one.
they're not that much more expensive than that now. I mean, they might
No,
be
no.
39.99.
Right.
No, so it's almost like you start with that set. They're not going to be the best tools in the world. You're probably going to have to upgrade your tools over time, but they'll at least, whet your appetite and get you thinking about, do I like this or not?
Yeah.
And then once you got, your starter set and everything, you got to make that decision. Like, what flies am I going to tie? And for those people who are already fly fish, it's basically like, what are the 3 flies that you fish the most often? Go and research and buy the materials for those 3. And if you don't fly fish already, then you kind of can throw it up in the air. You don't have to do a search and say, what fly should I tie first? Because most people are going to tell you like a woolly bugger or a mop fly. Like that's going to be it. Those are the 2 most popular, quote unquote, first flies now. But for those people who are just like, I want to get into fly tying as a hobby, you can tie anything you want. It doesn't matter, because if you're not going to fish with it, you're just doing it for your creativity purposes anyway. But there's a reason why people recommend certain patterns over others. And it's because there's these skills and there's some beginning skills that lead to intermediate skills that eventually lead to this expert or this top, tier level that some people aspire to get to. So, I think that's kind of the cool part about fly tying, is that it truly is like those books that I read when I was a kid. You get to choose your own path, and just you get to the end of the chapter and it's like, well, if you want to go this direction, turn to page 20. If you want to go to this direction,
Right.
turn to page 85, and you can turn to whatever page you want. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And so let's just say for someone who's never even gone fly fishing,
Yeah.
why would you get into fly tying? What has it done for you?
Well, I'm that person. I mean, I'm the person you're describing right now, Devin. Whenever I was 10 years old, that's when I took an after school fly tying class that my parents signed me up for.
Dude, honestly,
Yeah.
same here. 9 years old,
awesome.
my parents took me to an Orvis store in Rochester, New York. Same exact thing.
And the addiction starts. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it was for you. I hope you share. For me, it was kind of this notion of, I get to this class, I love the outdoors. I mean, I was always a curious kiddo that just loved to just get dirty, play in the mud, walk around the little stream. I mean, that was me. Fishing, I liked, I didn't love. I mean, I vividly remember waking up far too early when I was a little boy, just falling asleep streamside while my dad was trout fishing. It was cool.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't love it. It was cool. So, which is why I appreciate that my son loves it now. And, at his age, and, he's 8 years old, he loves it. And at 8 years old, I don't know if I loved it as much as he did. But then they'd sign me up for this class, and it was kind of like, oh, cool. And I remember, Devin, for this class, I'm sure there was this connection between fly tying and fly fishing, but I don't remember it. I just remember there were a bunch of, I don't want to use the word old, but just experienced gentlemen that were the instructors for this class.
Sure. Gray hairs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They reeked of cigar smoke,
Yeah.
varnish, like weird glues. They all had beards. I mean, they were all in their 70s older.
Right.
And, they were teaching us how to tie flies, like wet flies, these traditional catskill ties, and to spin deer hair, aside from the woolly bugger. And there was just something that I just found like fascinating about it. Bless you. I don't know what it was. I wish I could tell you. I wish I could go back in time, but I know I had this Plano fishing box, and I would tie a fly. And I remember opening the drawer, and I would set it in that drawer, and I'd close the drawer. And then I would watch them, explain how to tie another fly. And I would tie that fly. And it was such a challenge to get my fly to look just like theirs.
Yeah.
And it rarely did. And I think that was, for me, it was this challenge aspect where I think the words you used were, it was kind of like a craft. It was like this, it was a craft, but it wasn't like sewing or something that just came naturally. There was a challenge. There was that aspect of it that just drove me crazy. And I worked tirelessly, like for, I don't know about you, like hours. Like my parents would be throwing parties, and there'd be a bunch of people in our house. And I was like the weird kid that was in his room with the door closed. They were like, what's this kid doing? Like, I wasn't going through an emo phase. I was tying flies like underneath, with a vise from the 70s. And I just fascinated. I didn't want to leave that aspect.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I was on the couch with like a TV table and just mostly like pink and bright orange fur, and I suppose you could call them woolly boogers, but I mean,
Yeah.
there's just hair everywhere. My mom's vacuuming the couch out the next day because it looks like some wild animal,
Yeah.
Teletubby or something came to town. But
But you
yeah,
stuck
I'm
with
with
it.
you.
You and I stuck with it. There was
Yeah,
something that
I
kept
mean,
us going.
I took a long hiatus. I'm back in it now, but lost a couple decades on you there.
Yep.
But like the passion remained, and
Yeah.
it just took finding it again, which is great. Um, Kind of before we get into your background too, w- you have an incredible um social media presence on YouTube. People can find you on YouTube, on Instagram. I imagine those are your kind of two main social media outlets, but and probably Facebook and all the others.
Yeah.
But um what is your and I know Trout and Feather was established, the website, which is a fantastic website, by the way.
Thanks.
A
Thank
great blog, great resources. People should go check it out, and the YouTube and the Instagram. But
you.
when you started it, kind of the social media enterprise that you're now engaged in, what started that? What is your goal? What's kind of the end state for you?
Man, I wish I had a great answer for you because to tell, you and your listeners about my background, I'm a teacher. I teach elementary school, sixth grade, math and science. So that's my day job. And a lot of people sometimes are thrown off whenever I tell them that because they're like, but you do all this fishing stuff. And I'm like, you're darn right I do. Like, I don't get a lot of sleep. Like I'm kind of like, I just go, I'm like they
Yeah,
always called my dad the Energizer Bunny. And I think the apple never falls far. So getting to that idea of like social media, I am for years, I've never been someone that loves social media. I don't like it's there. I don't want to call it a necessary evil because it's not even necessary. I mean, it's something that I could stop tomorrow and my life would go on. And I'd be perfectly content.
sure.
The aspect of like, why do I push in that direction? I mean, number one, whenever people ask, what am I trying to get out of this? I mean, I have a day job. My goal is to help others get better at fly fishing and fly tying. I mean, that's the goal. At the end of the day, it's
Yep.
just to help people get over this steep learning curve because I had it. Luckily, I was very motivated. I had really good mentors. My parents would drop me off at the library. I was the boy that would check out like 10 books, all fly fishing and fly tying, bring them home. I would take diligent notes throughout the books, return them, get another 10. I would go to the fly shop and rent VHS tapes and just listen because I knew there had to be like a silver bullet fly in there, or some technique, some fishing technique that was going to help me catch 100 more fish, or some magical cast that Mel Krieger or Lefty Cray could teach me
Yeah.
that was going to be it. And I was going to be this master caster. And I just continue to push myself and research and learn. And I know a lot of people out there are like that, and those are the people that I'm drawn to. But then I also know that idea that some aren't, you and I both, we were texting before this podcast, like you were putting your kiddos to bed. I was putting my kiddos to bed. I was like, I'll be
Yeah.
5 minutes. It was 15 minutes. It wasn't five. I wasn't trying to lie. It just stretched a little bit. And
Time is finite.
yes, but I get that with other people as well. And whenever I think about like all the work that I put into learning about fly fishing and tying when I was younger, there's kind of two trains of thought. It's, do you want people to struggle like you struggled and it remain a mystery that they never end up solving, or do you want to help give them a few puzzle pieces along the way for them to put them together in an order that makes sense to them so they have this this better resolution? And
Yeah.
for me, it's the latter. That's kind of where I take the social media aspect, and I tend to post on as many platforms as possible. Doesn't matter if it's Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, Threads. It doesn't
Do it
matter.
all.
You'll find me on all of those platforms. It's a little bit more time to do that, but like I was at a fly tying event last week, and I was talking to this gentleman, and he's younger, a little bit younger than the two of us. And he's like, "Hey, I saw you before." I'm like, "Oh, where did you see me?" Thinking he was going to say one of the fly fishing shows that I headline in Denver
It's
or
like
New
YouTube.
Jersey. And he's
Yeah.
like, "No," he's like, "TikTok. I saw your TikTok page." And it's
That's
like,
hilarious.
awesome. Like, That's the
Yeah.
whole reason, because that's another audience. Like,
Yep.
I know my demographic on YouTube, I know my demographic on Facebook, and it's like that's not the same demographic that's watching TikTok. So
It's
for those people that
great.
are on TikTok, it's like we're reaching another crowd, like we're reaching tomorrow's crowd. And
Yeah.
that's a cool thing to help that crowd out as well. Because I remember being in that crowd. It was pretty darn tough when I was in that crowd. And
Yeah,
now
for
they have these
sure.
great resources available. So I'd rather be considered this person that helped somebody out versus that person that was like, hey, this is my information. Stay away. You got to figure it out yourself, kid.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I think we're kind of aligned that way in the sense that it's like, we're just doing this to help people. But one of the really cool things I've been able to do just in the first, I think this is the ninth episode,
Yeah.
just in these 9 episodes, is talk to like these incredible people, including yourself, who are out there doing this stuff just to help other people. I mean, my first episode was with Susan Gates with Casting for Recovery,
Yeah.
and like just getting women suffering with breast cancer out on the water for the first time. Um, and like a lot of them turn to fly tying afterwards and
Yeah.
continue fly fishing, and then to have resources like you online. And by the way, you do a phenomenal job, especially like with your shorts and your even like your 10 to 25-minute videos.
Yeah.
They are awesome, man. Really, really like great quality content, fun to watch. You're a super engaging guy. And so I just want to say congrats on
Thank you.
making such a great channel, and something that I want to watch and subscribe to and learn from. So, that's awesome.
And
In
there's,
your
by the way, I appreciate that, which thank you. I truly do. We're very lucky though, because I don't know about you, Devin. There's so many great YouTube channels out there
Oh, there's
that
tons.
have bigger followings than me and much smaller followings. Like we're so lucky to be able to go to the search engine, type in whatever basically, and
Whip
have
finish.
this wonderful
Yeah.
channel about fly fishing or tying just pop up and just see like, oh, let's see what their journey is going to be like and follow along for a couple years. So
Yeah.
I'm very jealous of people who are getting into fly tying and fishing today, because it's like, oh my gosh, if it was this easy for me years ago, like I can't even, it's really tough to comprehend just how far we've come even in the last decade compared to the prior 20 or 25 years to that.
For sure. I just prop my iPhone up behind my vise and learn to tie a couple flies. It's I mean, it's like awesome. A lot easier now than when I was
Oh,
9.
for sure. For sure.
In your book, you write that 1989 was your first year of fly tying.
Yeah.
What was life for you like before 1989?
I don't remember much before that. I was a decade old in 1989, so I was
Okay.
fourth grade. Um, I can't tell you much prior to that. I was this energetic kid that was just trying to figure things out. I loved to ride my bike around. I mean, I had this bike. I had a neighborhood full of kids my age, and I was kind of like the leader of the neighborhood. And we would take excursions in the woods. We'd take excursions to find ice cream stands. I mean, we were just kind of a group of kids that just kind of did our own thing. It's not like we
Yeah.
we didn't parent ourselves by any means. I mean, I'm sure our parents knew what was going on. In our minds, we were hiding everything from them.
Oh yeah,
But
it's
we
like
had parents.
Stand By Me and the Goonies, all just
Yeah, I mean,
living it. Yeah.
we had parents that were kind of hands off, that were kind of like, all right, there's this group of kids and they're going to figure things out, which is kind of the way that, I parent now. I'm very fortunate. I live on a little cul-de-sac. There's around 10 houses, and I think 8 of the 10 have children, or 9 of the 10. We all have
Oh,
children around the
awesome.
same age. And we're kind of like in that same mentality where somebody will text the rest of the parents and say, hey, anyone have eyes on the kids? And somebody will say, yeah, I see them. They're back in the woods. Like, so it's kind of cool
Yeah.
that I'm able to let my children experience it this way, kind of
Very
like I
cool.
did, because it's not like that for everybody. And it's a different world from
Yeah.
1989.
Yeah. And so you talk about your two grandfathers, Jack and Angelo.
Yeah.
Um, can you talk a little bit about I love what you wrote about Grandpa Jack, um, and that he instilled a drive in me to never give up, and was one of my most cherished life memories was a day he took me fly fishing, not to learn himself, but to simply enjoy watching his grandson fish.
Yeah.
Um, like I just love that there's people have similar little memorials to family members in, especially in their fly fishing books, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Um, it- can you talk a little bit about your grandfathers and their influence on you?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, I was lucky. I had, a wonderful set of parents. My parents are still alive, and their parents as well. My grandfather, Jack Burke, he was definitely that rock solid figure. He was married to Lottie Burke, my nan. I called her my grandmother, and
Lottie, what a name.
oh, Lottie Lorraine, really cool name,
That's
old
that's
school.
yeah. It's what's that baseball movie? Tom Hanks and
Oh,
uh
The Sandlot. No, no, no.
no,
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
the women's baseball
Yes,
league.
I know.
Yeah,
I'm
there probably
blanking
was
on
a
the name.
Lottie in there, but sorry. Anyways,
There could have been.
yeah.
You're gonna drive me crazy. That's my father-in-law's like favorite movie. He's watched it like 300 times. He's gonna kill
Good,
me
it's
if
a
he
good
hears this
one.
podcast.
It's a good one.
Um, yeah. Well, so I don't know. There were wonderful people. My grandfather, like me, he was a school teacher. He taught middle school and high school, so a little bit older students. But he retired relatively younger, and they bought this trailer. It wasn't an Airstream. It looked like an Airstream. It was called an Avion trailer. And they
Hmm.
joined this club called the Avion Travelcade, I think. Don't quote me on that. And it was
Nice.
basically like a group of people that all had these trailers, a bunch of like silver cans of beer, driving around the country in these
Right.
caravans, if you want to call it like
Right.
that. They'd set up shop at a campground. They'd stay for a week, a month, and then they go to another one. And, they had a house, close to where I lived as well. But it was just a group of like-minded people. I think they're still doing it to this day. And there's this group of people that have Airstreams that do the same. And sometimes the
Sure.
Airstream and the Avion people would interact as well. So they would just travel all summer. And for many summers, my parents would kind of let my sister and I go with them. And we would hang out with them for a month at a time and go to states like Michigan or go out west or go up to Maine. Like it was awesome. It was like
That is
really cool
cool.
because there was kids that would come around as, come with their grandparents or their parents as well. And we all knew each other and we played games together. It was a really fun experience. But it was during those times, I grew really close with my grandfather. And as I became, a teenager and started to turn into a young adult, like he was that person that I kind of looked at as he was this mentor, like the things that he did and just his demeanor and life in general were things that I just, it inspired me. I wanted to be like him as I got older. And just there was every characteristic and quality he had, I wanted to have that as well. And whenever he
Cool.
spoke with me, he was very positive. He just built me up. He's that mentor that, you hope everyone has mentors in life. And
Yeah.
he was a giant for me. And that day that I referenced in my introduction or my acknowledgments, which thanks for pointing that out. I've been for as many people have bought my book as many comment on the book itself, I get more comments about my acknowledgments than any other
Good.
aspect of the book. It's
Well,
really, I mean, I've had other
yeah.
authors that have reached out to me to say, hey, because of your acknowledgments, I've rewritten mine before submitting my book to the publisher because I wanted to read like yours, which
It's
I kind of,
important.
I looked at it. It was like, it's a book. It's forever. It's in the Library of Congress. And it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know how many books I'm going to write. I just submitted my second one recently, but when I was writing my first, I'm like, this might be the only book I ever have the opportunity to write. You never know what direction life's going to take. So I
Yep.
really want to make it a special one. And I wrote the acknowledgments the way I did. And for each person, I try to think about like, whenever I think about this individual, what's the first thing that comes to my mind? And for my grandfathers, both of them, it was tough. But for Jack, it was the day, related to fly fishing where he wasn't a fisherman. He enjoyed fishing occasionally, but not, by that point in his life, it was just not for him. And I said to him, I really wanted to go fishing, Pop. And he said, well, I'll take you fishing. And he brought me to this stream. It's called Neshannock Creek in northwestern Pennsylvania. And I still remember the spot. We hiked along the trail. We walked down into the water and I fished. And he just sat on the river and just watched me fish. For all I know, he was taking a nap. I don't know. Maybe, but I don't think so. But
No, he
he
was
just
watching.
enjoyed it. And he just enjoyed that
Yeah.
experience. And it was tough for me because the whole time, Devin, I just kept saying, like, Pup, do you want to make a cast? Do you want to try to catch a fish? Like I'm trying to get him to come out there and fish. Now
Right.
I can see from his perspective, he was just, enjoying his grandson fishing.
Yeah. I love that, man. It's just such a nice story. Um, so let's fast forward from your grandparents to Heather, your wife, who was
Yeah.
also a fly fisher. Was she? Did you guys meet on the stream, or how did you guys wind up on the river together?
I mean, she loves the outdoors. So I'll preface it with that. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever I think our second date, we went on a hike to this spot called McConnell's Mills. It has all these rock formations. It's a tricky spot to hike depending on the time of year. And I kind of took her there on a second date. It's almost like it was kind of like a test location. I would bring dates whenever I was in that phase of my life, just to see how they. I would always give, like, after the first date. I don't know about you, Devin, but it was like, all right, we'll go to dinner first, and then if there's a
Yeah.
connection for the second date, I always had a couple options, and one was
Yeah.
like a movie, maybe go to dinner again, or go on this hike. And if they chose the
Yeah.
hike, then I was going to go through with the date. If they chose the other two, I was just going to cancel the
You're
date.
gone.
You're
Yeah.
gone. You're out. So she chose that one. So I was like, all right, cool. So she's into the outdoors. And then from
Yeah.
that point, like the relationship flourished. Everything was great. We did a lot of hiking together. She loved to hike in New York. She showed me some of the mountains up there. We snowshoed, but
Oh,
fly
that's
fishing was my
awesome.
thing, and it just wasn't her thing. I would take her brook trout fishing. I used to build bamboo fly rods. So we
Cool.
grab a bamboo fly rod, and I take her out, and we would dap the water and catch brook trout. But to her, that wasn't fly fishing, because it was kind of like, you're not really casting, you're just touching the water with a
Hey,
fly. But I
like
was like,
Huck Finning and
yes,
Tom Sawyer.
that's how she
Yeah.
looked at it. That was her
Yeah.
perspective. So it's just, she enjoyed it, but it was, I have these great pictures of her. She's wearing like a dress and like sandals. Here I am, like, in all my gear as we're fishing
Right.
together. I mean, they're hysterical looking back.
Right.
Then I think after we had, right around like the time we had our first child, somewhere in that range, it was around 10 years ago, she said, like, hey, I'm reading all about fly fishing. She's reading about the notion of wellness, and just, and just these types of hobbies or activities that you can do, that you can do these things for the rest of your life, and it's only going to it's going to enrich your life. And fly fishing was one of those. And she's like, well, I've been reading about fly fishing. Will you show me how to do it? So I was like, absolutely.
I'm your
And
man.
yeah, we're in. So,
Yeah.
she jumped, she went all in, hook, line, and sinker, pun intended. And we've been taking trips around the world together. I mean, I have a good group of friends that I travel with as well, but you know, it's the end of April 2024, and we were just in Iceland a couple weeks ago for the opening trout season over there. Like,
Dude, okay.
I'm very lucky.
We got to pause it right there, because like 2 days ago BWI has flights. Baltimore,
Yeah.
the international airport in Baltimore, has flights to Reykjavik like every day, and they're not terribly expensive. And I was looking
Yeah.
all over, and I actually reached out to Hans Van Klinken to see what he has to say about um, fly fishing in Iceland. And then putting it in YouTube, I found your video, which I hadn't seen before,
Yeah.
with Mats,
Oh
the
yeah,
the
Mons is
German
phenomenal.
dude, yeah,
Yeah.
who's a professional guide in Iceland. And man, it seems awesome. And I saw that you have a trip coming up in July, which appears to still have openings if anyone's interested.
It's not.
Um,
It's sold out. No,
oh, it's
sorry.
sold out.
My trip's out in about a week. So no,
Good.
they're yeah,
That is a
yeah.
great.
People have to get on a list ahead of time. No, it's a pretty incredible destination. I've been fly fishing in Iceland for, I don't know, 7 years, something like that. I try to take 2 or 3 trips a year. I bring about one group a year. That's Some years I'll bring two groups. I think this summer I think I only have one on the books right now. I think there might be a private group that's going as well, but that's not there's no public openings. But
Yeah.
yeah, Devin, Iceland is it's a magical destination. That's for
Is it?
sure.
How did you find fly fishing in Iceland?
One of my good friends, Rob Janino, he runs the Fly Fishing Journeys podcast. He and I do, we do the fly fishing show. And if you do the fly fishing show, like, I'm a feature presenter there, you do the show with, a lot of the same individuals. So whenever I go to Denver, I know a lot of people in Denver, but there's also a crowd of people who also do the Edison, New Jersey show, and do the Lancaster, Pennsylvania show. So
Yeah.
you develop kind of a clique of friends, if you want to call it that. And you
Sure.
go out to dinner with that clique of friends everywhere you are. And, that's your group at the shows. And for Rob, he had, his little clique of friends. And one of his friends is named Sindri, and Sindri's a co owner or fish partner, one of the better outfitters in Iceland. So
Mm.
at one point there was like this opening for a trip, and I don't know all the specifics, but the gist was it was going to be a media trip to just kind of check out Iceland. Rob was going to do some podcasts related to the outfitter, bring along a videographer, and in return, get a little discount on the trip and that type of stuff. And he needed one more. He needed, like, I don't want to say like a hired gun, but somebody to catch some fish, but also who could bring some content along. So
Old
I,
steady.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
he gave me a call. He's like, "Hey, we just got back from Wyoming. Do you want to go to Iceland?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't
Mm.
know anything about it." Like, "Yeah, I'm in.
Sure,
How soon?"
sure
He's like,
do.
"A month." He's like, "A month." I'm like, "Let me check my passport." Like, passport's current. Yeah, I'm in. So we went over there. I went over knowing literally nothing. I think I was listening to a podcast on the plane about like fly fishing, and like I knew nothing. I was just like, I
Yeah.
tied some flies. I tied these Icelandic patterns. I knew the rods to bring and that type of stuff, but I'm just like, they're fish. How tough can they be? And they weren't. It was their fish. Like I literally, I think the guides over there were kind of laughing because I would say, what should I fish? And they'd say, oh, fish this fly. And they'd look in my box and I'd say, yeah, I don't like that. And I just put on like something I would use in Pennsylvania. And
Right.
they're fish. Like they're either going to eat it or they're not. And I did really well fishing like my Pennsylvania patterns or the patterns that I fish around the world.
That's awesome. With that
It
Atlantic
was
salmon or trout, or what were you
that first
hitting?
trip. We mainly fished the highlands for Arctic char and for brown trout.
Okay.
We also fished a couple lakes too for browns.
Hmm.
I was not a big lake fly fisher prior to that trip,
Yeah.
and they were difficult. I mean, I got some fish, not as many as I should have. I missed a lot of significant sized browns, but I also landed a handful. And from that trip, that was one of those trips that was like, ooh, I'm good at this, but I'm not good at this. And
Yeah.
when I got back to the United States, like I pushed in new directions to
Hmm.
become better because of that. So it had that vibe, but you're over there and like the terrain is just unreal. I mean, it's where the astronauts trained before the Apollo mission because it's the only place on
I
Earth that
didn't
kind of
realize that.
replicates the moon. So you
Mm.
just see this like crazy terrain. The water's crystal clear. They're pristine. You drink from the rivers. I mean,
Mm.
it's this magnificent place that's just it's so incredible. It's got a high like tourism population right now. I don't know their current population of residents. Well, let's just say there's 250,000, but during peak tourist season, it's like 1.5 million. So there's like 4 or 5 tourists for every resident,
Yeah.
but they're not fly fishing. So when you're fly fishing, the rivers are all private over there. It's like there's 4
Oh,
people on a river, and the river's 20 miles long. You're not running into people all day fishing. So
so you have to go to a lodge, basically.
you don't have to. There is like a license that will give you some public access, but it's
Mm.
not like the United States where it's like, oh, you can fish as long as there's not a posted sign. Like I think if
Okay.
you buy the license, it gives you access to don't quote me, like 40 to 60 lakes and rivers
Okay.
outside, and we're talking in the entire country. So
Right.
outside of that, more than likely, I would recommend if somebody wants to do a DIY, don't Google fly fishing in Iceland. Like reach out to someone,
Right.
like reach
Yeah.
out to me, like, because knowing that there's all these tourists that are coming, like on the weekends, everybody's a guide in Iceland, and
Yeah.
if you pick the wrong guide, you're not going to have the good water. And if you don't have the good
Right.
water, you might not catch as many fish, and it just might not be that experience that you expect it to be. Not that
Sure.
it's always about the fish, but you at least want to put yourself in a position where you
Well,
have
if you're going to
a better
Iceland, you want to
opportunity
catch
than
some fish.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's why I tell people, like, if you're going to do Iceland, it doesn't matter. Don't whether or not you take my trip. Like my trips are incredible. I'm lucky. I get peak dates. But if you don't take my trip, like contact me. Like tell me when you're going to be there. Tell me what type of experience you're looking for. Do you want to stay in a lodge? Do you want to rent a camper? Do you want to drive around the ring road, just fish a day or two? Do you want to get a guide for a day? Like just tell me what you want out of it. And I'll make that happen. But there's
That's
only
cool.
a handful of outfitters that I recommend just because I know, I know them, like I know all their guides. Like there's a
Yeah.
reason why they're the best.
Well, and you do have great insight on the YouTube channel as well. So if anyone's interested, I would start there. Um, so
Well, I care about when you're going to go, Devin. You need to get over there. Let's
I
not worry
do
about your listeners. I mean,
I do need to get over
get
there.
over there, man.
Well, I
It's like
like
a 5 hour flight
I
from you too.
I really did. I like texted Hans because I desperately want to go fly fishing with him. I like we were talking and he's telling me how terrible his casting is, and it's like, first of all,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
Calm
not.
down, Hans.
Right. But like what a like just cool dude.
Oh
And hilarious. Like I just want to go camping next to a river with you. Like the guy's just a wild man, I'm sure.
oh
It's
yeah,
just a lot of fun.
oh yeah.
Um w- I've got a bunch of questions, but I'm a little sidetracked. The You talked about lake fly fishing
Yeah.
in Iceland and how you started kind of working that into the routine in Pennsylvania. And I'm in Maryland, and I like avoid lakes like the plague. I mean, I think I enjoy being out in moving water in a stream more. So, are you? Tell me a little bit about lake fly fishing and how you're doing it really. I mean, are you out on a boat? Are you casting from shore? Are you using like big long drop rigs or what are you doing?
Yes, yes, and yes. I mean,
Okay.
the short answer is yes. And whenever I go all in with something, I go all in. Like that was so for 3 or 4 years. It was as much as I could fish on a lake. I fished on lakes for trout mainly, sometimes for bass, sometimes for hybrid stripers, but it was mainly trout. That's kind of what I was going after because I had access to these lakes in Iceland. I still do that were just loaded with these trout. So I'm like, well, I'm doing okay there, but I don't think I'm doing good enough. So how can I
Hmm.
do better? So let me practice, see what works in the United States and see what translates over to Iceland, and not just Iceland, like to lakes where I'm fishing out west or in other countries in Europe.
Yep.
So the short answer was like the first thing I had to do was just learn a little bit more about like what's it like fly fishing in a lake, like what's the difference. I mean, some like little things, some little tips that I can share with your listeners, like your rod tip is nearly always in the water or at least pointing straight down because that gives you a direct connection to the fish.
Hmm.
The other thing that I really learned was just the importance of a strip set. I've done a nice amount of saltwater fly fishing over the years, and I lost one of my biggest tarpon on a hook set where I didn't think it really was an eat. It was an eat. I lifted the rod, I did a trout set, and then the fish swam off after showing itself, and it was just like that
Just
most
didn't strip.
heartbreaking. Oh,
Yeah.
just the most heartbreaking moment. And that was when I learned about the strip set. But I had looked at my guide, Michael Mowry, down in Florida, and Mike was like, "Well, Tim, let me explain what's kind of going on." And the gist of that situation was, I was doing a slow retrieve on my fly, the fish was following, and when it ate, by the time I lifted my rod, for every action, there's that equal and opposite reaction. Like it just pushed that line enough to kind of allow that fly to just come loose.
Pop
And
out.
that
Yep.
fly wasn't tight. I almost could have just done nothing and lifted my rod eventually, and I probably would have had a better chance.
Hmm.
But when that fish is swimming straight at us, because that's if you're retrieving your fly straight, straight towards yourself, and your rod tips in the water. So now it's like I'm on a direct line with my fly line to my leader to my fly, and there's very little sag in that system. So knowing there's very little sag, by setting my rod, I'm basically just wasting time versus just by doing that strip set. Or I'm right-handed, and just take my left hand and just start pulling the line as hard as I can.
Hmm.
And what I learned whenever I really started pushing myself in Pennsylvania on these lakes is that I would have an eat. It didn't matter if I was fishing from shore or from a boat. It didn't matter if I was tight to the fly or if I was tight to an indicator. I would have an eat, and I would do a strip set, and I wouldn't feel anything. And it was after I felt that bite or I saw my indicator move, and I was like, man, that's weird. And then sometimes like the fish would come back, and then I'd strip set again, and then lift my rod, and the fish would be there.
Hmm.
And other times, like I would do this strip set and then nothing. And it was just like, it was driving me mad. Like I just couldn't figure out what was going on. And then right around that time, I was like scrolling on Instagram, and I saw, I can't remember who it was. I can see him. I just can't think of his name right now. And there was this crazy hook set that he had whenever he was fishing somewhere in this jungle. And he strip set this fly like 20 times. He just kept strip setting, strip setting, strip setting. And I just like instantly went back to Florida, and I was like, I remember what Mike told me, like not strip set once, just strip set till it comes tight, then hit it a couple more times. And I was like, I'm
Hmm.
going to try that next time I'm out for trout. So sure enough, like, I have an eat whenever I'm back on this lake in Pennsylvania. I strip set, I don't feel anything. I strip set like 3 more times, nothing. And then on the 5th strip set, it comes tight. And I'm like, oh, so I strip set one more time, lift my rod,
We're
fish.
on. Hmm.
And it's like, oh, that was like 5 or 6 strip sets on a 14-inch rainbow trout in the lake. That
Hmm.
ate like a nothing fly. Like that was extreme.
Yeah.
But that's only a 14-inch fish. Now, like multiply the size, you double that, you get a 28-inch brown trout on there that's really moving towards that fly. Like you got to catch up to that fish because it's moving while you're trying to set the hook. So you got to be stripping your line faster than that fish was moving as it accelerated towards your fly. So that was probably like the biggest
Mhm.
game changer in my life was the notion of when I'm on lakes, keep a direct contact to that fly or to my indicator, and then strip set until it comes tight, and then strip set 1 or 2 more times, then lift my rod. And I
Mm.
mean, we were just there's a little lake by my house. My whole family was just there Monday after school, and my wife missed a fish. She missed a palomino, one of those you call it palomino, golden rainbows, whatever you want to call them, banana
Mhm.
fish. And she was like, "What'd I do wrong?" I'm like, "You didn't strip set." She's like, "I did." I'm like, "You did it once." And she's like, "Oh, will you show me?" And I made one cast. I was just in a really light figure eight retrieve. And
Yeah.
I felt a little twitch and I was like, oh, here we go. And I was like, strip,
Strip.
strip, strip. And I'm like, I still don't feel it. One more strip set. There was the fish. I raised the rod. She's like, show off. She's like, I'm not netting
Yeah.
that fish for you.
What a
But
j
it was
what a
all,
jerk.
it
Yeah.
was truly educational. And I was like, hey, you got to keep strip setting.
Okay.
That's a huge tip that I'll give all your listeners.
That might get me out. That might with focusing on the patience required to, get a solid strip set, and having to strip several times might be a fun challenge this summer. And it just opens up that much more water too.
Yeah.
Um, so that will be great. Um,
But
I'd
yeah, but
like
it
to
doesn't happen overnight. If I make this seem like, oh, I
No.
just said I better strip set, and it's gonna like this took at least a season and a half to really ingrain into my brain. Then once it got ingrained, like it's not like it just lasts forever. Because just like you, I love moving water. Like I don't
Yeah.
like fishing out of drift boats or boats anywhere. I'd rather wait if I can.
Yeah.
But there's when you start to put yourself in new situations, like your brain has to rewire every time. So
Well, that's
it's
a
nice
good
whenever it does come together, though.
that actually is a good segue because I mean I love moving water. But I'm also teaching my 4-year-old to fly fish. Took him out to like a teeny little stream maybe a month ago and just, for 30 or 40 minutes before we had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on the little riverbank,
Yeah.
we just did some casting. And like it's really fun. I think one of the benefits of kids and moving water is that they get to see the dry fly you know moving. I think there's a lot lost once you are trying to drop streamers in or
Yeah.
whatever. Right, they're just not seeing it. It's like
No.
um so maybe lake fishing would be good for fly fishing with kids, but I know you've done a few videos. What and for me and for the listeners out there, I've got a 2 and a 4-year-old, so obviously the 2-year-old's just a bit too young.
Yeah.
Although he's interested. 4-year-old's super interested, super eager, and I can't really stop him at this point. So
Awesome.
we're gonna
Yeah.
start fishing. But I loved your videos on like waders and all that sort of stuff for kids. Where do you start with casting for kids?
Man, I don't want to tell you. I don't think there's a right answer to this.
Yeah.
I think, as you probably know, whenever you're reading like the parenting books and watching the videos on just how to be a parent, I think it's based upon your child for starters. I think
Yeah.
that's really it. There's times that I subscribe to the Gary Borger casting school where he does a lot of the pantomiming where you're just doing it
Cell
with your
phone.
hands.
Yeah.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
think like sometimes we'll be driving and I'll say, all right, like back cast, forward cast, and we'll talk through that just so whenever we get to the water, I can say, all right, let's try this now. And
Yep.
he's able to do that because sometimes when he wants to, when my son wants to fish, it's not time for casting instruction. That's not it. Like casting
No,
instruction,
so shut up,
you know,
Dad. Right.
no, that happens in the backyard. That happens when we're driving. But I think the child has to also be interested in doing it because,
Yeah, 100%.
there's times where my son he just wanted to catch a fish, and casting that wasn't a thing. Like there'd be times when we were lake fishing, he'd say, "Dad, can you cast it out real far so I have a better chance of catching a fish?
Cool.
And as a dad, I was like, well, this kid figured it out, because if Devin and I are fishing together and Devin only casts 10 feet and I cast 50 feet, I'm going to probably outfish Devin all day long, because
Yeah.
more fish are going to see my fly. That's easy math. And my son figured that out. So there are times that I would cast for him and I would hand him the rod, and he would reel his fly reel in, and then he'd catch a bass. And that was cool for him.
Yeah.
There were times we would go bluegill fishing, and he would use a fly rod, but versus having his line and leader come out of the guides, I would just tie the leader onto his tip top, Tenkara style.
Cool.
And he would still be up, he'd flip it out. He would flip out a popper, something like a
It's a
Sneaky
great
Pete.
idea. That's a
Yeah. And
great idea.
it was easy to use. He didn't have to worry about casting far. He didn't have to worry about managing line. It was basically like poor man's Tenkara. That's what it
Yeah.
was. But also, my son wasn't the child that said, like, I want my rod to be just like my dad's.
Right. I want the Hardy 3-weight.
Yeah, I mean, there might be children that are going to say, like,
Yeah.
I want to be able to, like, cast like my dad or like my mom, and that's a different. And I get that, like,
Yeah.
and then if they do, like, then you really have to consider that. For me, I had this old fiberglass fly rod. It was like a 6 or 7 footer that I put a fly reel on, but again, like, the leader was attached to the tip top, so he would catch a fish. He would reel the reel thinking he was reeling in the fish, and I would say, all right, just take a couple steps back, and then I net the fish. Game over. And he loved it.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Those are great
yeah,
tips. Those are really great tips.
super cool. So just work. So you just got to figure out, what they're interested in doing, and then just
Yeah.
capitalize on that.
Yeah. Okay. That's great advice. I mean, honestly, it's like I'm thinking about casting and all this other
Oh yeah.
crap. It's like I don't really need to worry about that yet. He's 4. We need to get the fly in the water. And
Just
it
you need
it
to
was
roll, have
funny.
fun.
Like
Lots of
last,
food and have fun.
yeah, right. And yeah, a lot of patience.
Yes.
The last summer we were on the Yakahaney, and it was just my 4-year-old and I out camping, and we
Yeah.
fished for probably an hour and a half, didn't catch anything, and then I like dropped my net, lost control of my line, and my fly just hit the water like maybe a foot and a half in front of us, and boom, rainbow trout. I was like, I'm the dad of the year
Oh,
here.
oh,
We
absolutely.
yeah, so we that like was a life-changing experience for him, I think, because he got to see this beautiful, beautiful rainbow. I mean, it's small, but they're just,
Oh
beautiful little
yeah.
animals. Um, so okay, so that's great advice. That's really great advice. Let's talk flies a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I One thing I think we forgot to mention for anyone that's new to fly tying, I would say don't start with like a size 22 fly. I would go with like even single digits just to learn how to fly. I don't know if you agree on that, but
Yeah, I mean, I think a size 8 woolly bugger, a size 12 mop fly, a size 14 zebra midge. I mean, there's, again, like,
yeah,
depending on what species you're trying to go after. But yeah, I think you're onto that. Go with a
yeah,
larger fly, heavier diameter thread. Maybe do like a nano silk or something, just so
yeah,
your thread's not constantly breaking when you're tying flies. Yeah, absolutely.
right. So I interviewed Ann Kitchener, and I know you know both of them. Obviously, she actually was the one that recommended I reach out to you. So thank you, Ann, for linking us up.
Oh,
And I
she's the
know
best.
you. I mean, just salt of the earth.
Oh yeah.
Just an awesome human being. Um, and I've got mostly Semperfly stuff behind me here. Um, how important, and I know, like, I saw your interviews with Tom, talking about uh really how into kind of making dubbing you guys get, and all that, and I'm definitely not there yet. i
Yeah.
have I have a few different kinds of dubbing, um because it's like so fun to just go by, like, you think
Oh
when
yeah.
you're just when you're pulling off stuff at, like, I shop at Precision fly fishing in Maryland. I know they have a store up in Pennsylvania as well, but it's like it seems so cheap when you're going to the fly shop and you're just popping stuff off the shelf, and then you get to the cash register and reality sets in. So I've made that mistake uh, more often than not, unfortunately. But how important are these materials? Like, I know you and Tom are talking about, like, Tom's shaving a hare's ear to get the specific fibers. And I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, you've progressed decades in the sport, and it's like
Yeah.
you just have a feel for a certain material. But for those of us out there that are very amateur, how important is all that?
I mean, let me say, I'll say this, and you mentioned some pretty big names. I mean, Ann Kitchener's one of the owners of Semperfly, which is their manufacturer of some of the best fly tying materials on our planet right now.
Yeah.
Tom Rosenbauer is the host of the Orvis Fly Fishing podcast. He's an ambassador for fly fishing. I've had an opportunity to fish with him. I mean, he's just those are two incredible people. And if you talk to them, I'd love to hear their answers on that question, because that's a tough question to just tell you right off the bat. Because to me, as a fly tire, materials matter. Like, they
Hmm.
truly matter, which I almost was going to guess your question was going to be, do I prefer natural versus synthetic, materials? Because
Mm.
that's a common question I get asked. But I think your question kind of like leans in a different direction, because you've implied correctly that, like, by me tying flies and utilizing these materials for all these years, I understand whenever I pick up X material, it's going to be useful for this application. And this is what I'm going to need to do. This is how I'm going to have to use it. This is going to be the right technique for it. And I get all that. And
Hmm.
then for someone who's brand new, or for a beginner fly tire who's never used this material before, it's like, how are they supposed to figure it out? Besides watching a YouTube channel, reading a fly tying book,
And going
reading
and spending $1,000 on,
yeah,
like,
or taking a fly tying class. I mean, the
I need
short
it.
answer is, experience pays off. I mean, that's the way it works, and
Yeah.
that's why YouTube is great. Obviously, I think it's wonderful, but I'm also a presenter at the fly fishing show, because I have a chance whenever I'm teaching a fly tying class, whether a private class or the demo in front of 100 people. I'm able to say, all right, like, I can hold up the material and say, this is how I use this material, and this is why. Or whenever I say, which I love, this past season, during my fly tying demos, whenever I had a crowd of people, I would say, all right, everybody, I'm a teacher. You're going to take a field trip. So everyone stand up and come to the front. And I would make 50 people or 75 people come up, and I would show them what a dubbing rake was. And I would grab a hare's mask, and I would say, watch how long this takes for me to shave this hare's mask with a dubbing rake. And I would do it. And it would take, I
Hmm.
would literally have it done in, that section in about, I don't know, 9 seconds. And then I would take my coffee bean grinder,
Yep.
which I have right here, and I would take this coffee bean grinder during those demos, and I would open it up, and I would say, I'm going to put that in. So I might take all that dubbing, and then I would hold up my dubbing pack, and I would say, this is the dubbing pack I got from my local fly shop. This was in their bargain bin because it's the ugliest color that nobody wants, but
Right.
I'm gonna put it in there as like a hotspot color, and it's gonna blend well with this hare's mask dubbing. And I would put a pinch of it in, and I would put my lid on and turn on, and then I would pull out, and basically what I just made was an entire pack of dubbing. It took me about 35 seconds to make and probably cost me a quarter. It's not a money thing. Again, you're not saving money, but that was the
Yeah.
reality of it. And the most important aspect I would be able to say to the crowd was, and now I have a color dubbing that not one of you has. There's no one else in the world who's using this color right now. I just created it right now. I'm going to put it on a fly. Whenever I cast my fly on this river in central Pennsylvania in a couple weeks, it's going to be the first time they've seen this pattern. Like, I guarantee it, because this is such an ugly color. No one would buy this color. And the
Yeah.
crowd laughs. And then half of them are like, do you sell these dubbing rakes? I'm like, no, I don't sell stuff. Like, no, like, Hairline's going to make some money on me right now, because they're going to
Yeah.
sell 10 of these rakes,
Right.
as they should. It's a pretty cool thing. But now, like, getting back to, what about that tire that says, hey, can I just buy a $2 pack or $3 pack of dubbing, and it's the same thing? And the short answer is yes. Like, yes, like it is. I think the bigger question should be, how do you learn which material to use in which situation? And I
Yeah.
think that's sometimes where I think videos can be very difficult. I'm not saying YouTube fails anglers at that. And maybe as we advance into AI and people can ask ChatGPT and these other sites, which I think that's going to be the reality, when somebody's going to be able to type into a ChatGPT type platform and say, I have this hare's mask. What are 5 flies that I can tie with it? And which section of this hare's mask should I be using for those flies? Because right now on YouTube, you watch, 100 videos on tying a hare's ear, and they're probably going to say use hare's ear dubbing. And if I hold up a hare's mask, which I'm looking at one right now, and somebody says, well, which section of this do I use? I don't think any of those videos will say that.
Yeah.
And that's a shortcoming of YouTube, I think. But that's where, for those people who have access to a fly shop, or to maybe I don't want you, it doesn't even have to be a fly shop, but it could just be to have access to a Facebook Live or a YouTube
Mhm.
Live or TikTok Live, where there's a group of 6 tyers that are tying, and they're just having a conversation like you and I are, and then I can either jump in and also tie with them, or in the chat say, "Hey, I have a hare's mask. What section of this should I be using?" And
Mm.
I think that's where dialogue happens. So I think it's kind of twofold, where people who are using materials and they don't know how to use them, they have to know that, number one, they have to know the question to ask, and they got to find a resource to ask that too. Because I can hold up my Semperfli synthetic peacock curl right now, but like, this is great if I go to the shop and buy it, but like, what am I going to do with it next? And
Right.
some vendors and some manufacturers are able to put on their website, here's some recommended patterns you can tie with it. And that's why I think those manufacturers are doing better, because it gives that beginner fly tire like a starting point. And
Yeah. Well, like that Semperfli catalog that they have on their
yeah.
website, very helpful.
Oh
Um,
yeah. So I don't know.
uh,
Did I answer your question? I don't know if I did a good job.
yes.
I
No,
kind
you
of did
did. You
somewhat of a
did.
sidetrack.
Well, I mean, the material is important, I think, is ultimately the answer. And uh, like for me, um, as an amateur, it's like, well, this thing calls for hare's ear, but I have snowshoe foot dubbing out on my desk. So I'm just going to use that because I don't
Yeah.
feel like going into my little pack and opening. And I mean, it's already like a friggin' mess. I can't take anymore. And so I'll
Well, yeah,
use
and
it. And it like
if
looks
Tim Flagler
okay. It's
says
fine.
if Tim Flagler says on his channel, use hare's ear, well, I got to use hare's ear because that's what
Got to
Tim
do it.
Flagler says. Or if Devin Olson says use black peacock dubbing, I'm going to use that one because that's what
Right.
Devin Olson says. And I'm guilty of that as well sometimes when it comes to the idea of varying materials, because it's like, well, this person who's got 70 years of experience is telling me this is the material. So if I don't have it, I got to buy it, or I got to find someone to trade it. And if they do,
Yeah.
versus now, like, I realize when I make my videos, like, I tell specifically what I'm using, but I also I try my best to be very clear to say, if you don't have this, it's okay, you can use something else. But then going back to your point, like, if I say, hey, one of my favorite dry flies is an X caddis, and I use deer hair on it, well, there's a lot of sections on that deer, and if you use the wrong section of deer hair, it's not going to float, or it's going to spin, or something
Mm.
happened to that fly that's not going to be based on the hair that I'm using there. So I think being able to at least understand, like, if I say I want to tie it with deer hair, you got to figure out like what part of the deer, or whenever you go to buy deer hair at a fly shop, like, there's going to be 5 different varieties of deer hair.
Right.
Which one do you buy?
Right.
So that's where that conversation has to take place between you and the fly shop employee, or between you and somebody.
Yeah. Well, and I think in your acknowledgments as well, you call out local fly shops, which was awesome too, because I mean that's the local fly shops are the backbone of this entire community, and kind of the they're really like the spiritual gathering points too,
Yeah.
because with the hosting events and all that sort of stuff, it's like nice to get together with a community of like-minded folks. I think it's also worth mentioning on your website, Trout and Feather, that you do some live videos that people can uh, purchase access to, and also recorded. You have a series of recorded videos on Trout and Feather that I think sound awesome. Like especially being able to sit down, and most of them are an hour and a half,
Yeah.
and see you, and probably type questions in and ask. Just a great opportunity. If anybody out there is looking for a place to start, I imagine that would be a really
There, I wish I
helpful.
could. I wish I could do more of those. I mean, the idea behind those was, it came out of the pandemic. There were a lot of clubs that were going to remote or hybrid meetings, and I was like, well, I'm a teacher. I've just taught through the pandemic on Zoom. Why can't I teach some of my fly fishing presentations via Zoom? So a lot of clubs started booking me, which I do a lot of club presentations every year. But being a teacher, I can't travel to as many. I have to turn down most
Summer months.
presentations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and no clubs meet in the summer, very few. So I just know up front, like I can commit to maybe 10 club presentations a year, the major fly fishing shows, and then maybe a couple local events, and then that's it. Then all my fishing trips. So I just know this is my number every year. It can't go any higher than that. That's it. But
Yeah.
then after the pandemic, I was like, well, I can do Zoom calls. And like last week, I did 3 Zoom calls with clubs in California, New Mexico, and Connecticut. So
Awesome.
it's like I don't
Awesome.
have to leave my house for that. But then the other aspect of it was, well, like if Devin Carlson, if he lives in Maryland and he doesn't have a club that's close by to access one of my Zoom calls, like why does Devin not have that opportunity? So I was like, well, instead of just saying I'm only going to do these calls for a club, why don't I just, post one every couple months and then, have that topic
See how it
and make
goes.
it available. Yeah. And just see how it goes. And I had no idea how they were going to go because like I know how club calls go, but I didn't know like if I was going to have this gathering of people from around the world that were going to meet up on a Zoom call, like what was it going to be like?
Yeah.
And so I limit the number. Most of them will sell out, which is cool. That it's cool that they're able to sell out. But then I also realized that a lot of people were buying them just because they wanted a spot. They wanted to be able to see it, and they didn't even show up for the event. They just knew it was going to be recorded. They
Mm.
knew the next morning I was going to send them an email that was going to have the link. It was going to have all the links that we talked about, all the images that we talked about. They were able to go on YouTube, watch the presentation as many times as they wanted, and my price was really reasonable. They didn't have to leave their house. Like they could watch it for as many times. I didn't just say, oh, you can only watch it live with me once and you could never see it again. Like I uploaded the Zoom call to YouTube, and the first one I did went like really well. And I was like, oh, that was cool. And I got so many emails like, when are you doing it again? And I'm like, well, I have all these club calls I have to do. So I did like one couple months later. And I just said to my wife the other night, I was like, it's April. I haven't had a Zoom call for, like a month or two.
Yeah.
And she's like, when are you doing your next one? I'm like, I don't know, like maybe May, but it's going to be the summer. Like, I don't have time to it's, I'm fishing all summer long. I don't have time to do Zoom calls. So I have all the prior ones that are recorded. I do sell, you can, for whatever the fee is, I forget how much I'm charging, but
Yeah.
I'll, anyone who buys one of those Zoom calls, it's basically a master class, and I'll send you the link. You can watch the YouTube video, the recording of that night, and then you have access to all the links and everything else that
Cool.
that was available. I don't really offer too big of a discount on that because I figure if I offer a discount on like once the event's over, it's like why would anyone even sign up for the event? So
Yeah.
I tend to leave the price the same, just
Yep.
knowing I like the live event. I wish more people could attend live, but I also get like somebody
Life
like you or me
happens.
we could be watching live and our kids could wake up having a nightmare, and it's like, all right, well, it's cool. I know I can close my laptop and walk away, and it's going to be waiting
Right.
for me tomorrow.
Well, we're gonna have to get you like a Starlink satellite connection so you can start doing live videos while you're in Iceland or something.
No way.
We always connected. That'd
Oh,
be
no
good.
way.
Well, I have kept you on here over an hour, and on Mending on the Fly, we wrap up with the whip finish,
The
and
whip finish time. Yeah.
yeah. So first things first, and you have videos about this, but what is you talk about having having confidence in your flies. What would be your number one confidence fly?
Oh, shoot. I hate this question. What do we, you got to give me more. What are we fishing for? How about that?
Okay, we're fishing for brookies because they're my
Ooh,
favorite.
oh, trout. Ooh,
In Maryland and Pennsylvania.
okay. Well, if I was going for brookies, I probably wouldn't fish one fly. I'd probably do a dropper set, like a dry dropper setup. I would probably have, oh, this is a dilemma. Oh gosh, I would probably either say I would have a size 12 humpy or a chubby Chernobyl for my
Okay,
dry fly. One of those two. And I know I'm not being accurate to your question, but one of those two. Today I'd probably do a chubby, probably a chubby, somewhere
sure.
around size 12, something like that. Maybe a mini chubby as my dry fly. Then I have a little dropper tied off the tag. That'd be off my tag. Then the point fly for my nymph. I probably have a little pheasant tail, Frenchie, something like that, something to grab their attention. So I would do dry dropper based on the water depth. If I was fishing some drop pools, that would be my
Beautiful.
setup.
Beautiful. I think it sounds great. I think it sounds perfect. And I think I'll do that. Um, how can people follow you on social media, Instagram, YouTube, and I will just go ahead and say that troutandfeather.com is the website. And folks really should check it out. There's a ton of great stuff on there. And I loved your recent article on mop flies.
Thanks.
Because to me, they just look, they're like such garbage flies, you know, like, but I mean, my God, if you're going to catch fish,
Devin,
why not use
I
them?
told you I just submitted my second book. I can talk a little bit about it now since it's in, but I won't give you
Yeah.
the whole. The gist was I interviewed 30 of the top competitive anglers around the world. I reached out to them, said, "Would you be interested in me interviewing you for an hour?" They said yes. It's all on Euro nymphs. And at the end of it, at the end of my interview, I asked every one of them, kind of like you're doing now. I said, "What are your top 5 Euro nymphs?" And every one of these anglers gave me three to six nymphs or 3 to 6 flies. Some gave me dry droppers, some gave me some jig streamers, but so I have like, imagine like whoever the best fishers are, competitive fishing. We're talking Devin Olson's, Lance Egan, Lubos Rosa, Howard Croston, Greg Juglaret from France. I mean, you name it. In Cody out west. I mean, Josh Miller, Pat Weiss, you name them, they're in my book. Like
That's
they
awesome.
said yes. Everybody said yes. And what was interesting, some of the biggest takeaways from me were a lot of their confidence flies were the flies that you would expect them to say, which there wasn't like any ducking. Like it was like an interview, like you and me right now. So there wasn't any like, I'll get back to you. It was like, what are your 5? They're like, and many of them would be like, they'd hold up their fly box, be like, these
This
right,
is
these
it.
ones you see in Tim. Like, this is it. Like, these are.
Yeah.
I have my whole left side of this box is nothing but this fly. Like
Yeah.
this is my fly, which was super cool. And more people used mop flies than I thought. Like I felt
Hmm.
like the mop fly got really, it picked up a lot of steam for a while. It really animated people and what made them move in one direction or another. And I kind of thought it kind of died down, but I was shocked by how many of the top competitive anglers around the world are still fishing the mop fly.
Well,
And then
like, I love that you're like buying car wash gloves and
yes, well,
like
but
floor
Kevin,
cleaning slippers, you know?
but I want to say I was equally shocked by how many are like still opposed to it. Like there were some anglers,
Oh,
which I listed their names in my book. Like this book wasn't just like, if you like the fly, you're getting your name. If you don't, you're not. Like the people who said I hate it, like I quoted them, like I hate this fly, and here's why I hate it. And I put their
yeah.
names in it because I'm like, that's how books should be. It shouldn't be this all like, let's just glorify this stuff. Like let's have an honest conversation about the mop fly. So it was really cool. But some of the reasons why people didn't like it was because it caught too many fish and
Yeah.
you didn't focus on the technique and the fish just gravitated to the fly like a silver bullet. And they didn't like that. And
Hmm.
it's kind of cool when like there was 2 or 3 flies in my book that people many anglers didn't like because they're almost not a panacea, but it almost comes across like that because they work so well. You can kind
Right.
of let your guard down on your technique. But
Yeah.
yeah, the mop fly is definitely one of those fun ones.
Well, I think the mop fly will be for me this summer. That might be my confidence fly.
Do
We'll
it.
see.
Do it.
um, yeah. So social media. Tim Cammisa on YouTube,
Yeah, I mean,
and
the best way to if people are trying to just get an overview of everything going on, for sure, like Instagram probably is the best, Instagram or Facebook, simply because if they follow me on Instagram, I tend to post a lot on Instagram about what's going on in my other channels as well.
yeah,
So really stay up to date with me. I would say go to troutandfeather.com and then just you'll get a pop-up screen that will say sign up for my newsletter. And I would say input your email address there, and then you'll get updates on my newsletter. Anytime I
cool,
release a new video, I send out an email, that type of stuff. If I release
awesome,
a new blog, you'll get an email. That's probably the easiest way to really just stay a little bit more up to date than everybody
cool.
else.
And actually, one other question before we wrap up, because
Yeah.
Tim, for the listeners out there, Tim has just awesome content, like just really great, engaging content. And I think some of that has to do with just that you're like a cool, humble dude that is happy, and you're
Mhm.
out there like just it's really clear that you are engaged and enjoying what you're doing, and I think that really comes across. And so the content that you create, I think, just echoes that. um but on like a kind of nerding out on social media a little bit,
Yeah.
are you doing all your own social media right now, or do you have like a social media manager that's helping with this? Because your videos are like really great, and everything just looks very, very good, professional.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's taken you know how this is, Devin. It's
Yeah.
taken years to get to this point. This like a lot of people who are like, oh, like the people who are like, oh, Tim wrote a book. It's like that didn't happen overnight. Like whenever I
Right.
tie a fly and somebody's like, oh, you tied that, like, and I don't sell too many flies, but every now and then somebody will say, how much do you want for that fly? And I'll give them a price. And it's like
Right.
that, whatever that famous artist was that was like, he painted somebody in like a minute, and they were like, I'm not going to pay this much. And like, it only took you a minute to do this. And he was like, it took me, 50 years to learn how to do that in a minute. Like,
Right.
so it's kind of like that with social media as well.
Yeah.
I do have editors that help me out with my video editing
Cool.
for my shorts, but that's pretty much it. The rest of it is kind of like me, which I don't like. I wish I could get a little bit more like hands off to say I wish somebody else would do the editing for me.
Yeah.
But I
It's a
also,
lot. I mean, it's a lot of work.
yeah, I mean, I'm working on a video right now for that's should have been out like 2 weeks ago, and I'm working on the editing every morning. I wake up at 5. I edit for about an hour before I go to bed for a half an hour every night. I'm editing pictures on Lightroom, so it's like there's always this, there's always something going on. But
Yeah.
luckily, I enjoy it. I don't look at it
Yeah.
because it's not a job. I mean, I have a day job. It's not fun. It's also, it is work. I'm not gonna, it's a second job. I will
But this
say
is a
that.
passion.
It's
This
a
is a
it's a
passion.
passion. Yeah, it's more than a passion. It's part of it's my life. I mean, I love everything fly fishing, but
Yeah.
I wish I had a little less. I wish I could just remove myself a little bit and just say, all right, I just want to send all the stuff to somebody and you just put it together for me.
Right.
But I just don't have that trust yet. One of these
Yeah.
days, I hope I get it.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you because
Yeah, if you're offering, let me know
this
if you're offering.
I'm not offering. So sorry about that. It cost you $10,000 a month, and I'll do it.
Oh
But
gosh, I might. You might. You just got hired. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'll take it.
deal that I quit tomorrow. Um, man, well, I just cannot say thank you enough for joining me tonight. For the listeners out there, we are at 10 p.m. here on the East Coast. Um, uh, Truly a pleasure to talk to you, and I really appreciate your time. Please say thank you to Heather and your kids for allowing you to do this tonight. It was a real pleasure to talk to you, and I hope to share a stream in Pennsylvania or Maryland with you someday.
I look forward to that. And thanks for everything you're doing, Devin. Listen, is this podcast 10? Is that what I see?
Yeah, it'll be 9 or 10. Yeah,
Well, awesome. I mean, don't they always say if you make it past like 8, you've made it past 90% or something like that. So
you're
keep it
good.
going, man. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, thanks, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's really uh we'll see where it goes. I'm really enjoying being able to talk to people like yourself, and just really get exposed more to all the various people in the community. So it's been a blast. But thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
You're welcome. Thanks, Devin.